That's it, right? Can you get the lights outside?
Get it?
Hi, Nicole. Hi, everyone. So good to see you all. Hello, hello, everybody. Hi, Ronak. I'm so happy to see so many of you joining. We're just waiting for Cactus Rosh to join in. Oh, he's come. Just give me a moment. I've invited him, right? My staghorn phone is right outside. Okay, so good to see all of you joining in. I'm so happy to have you all here. And we're just waiting for Roshan to join in. I've sent him an invite. Once he joins in, we'll just start talking about cacti. Okay, I'm not audible. One second. Jake, can you fix this? Not audible. Okay, okay. Okay, am I audible now? Should I be speaking a little louder? Today we will be talking about cacti. Okay, thank you, Deep. Dipti, sorry. Thank you, Dipti. Okay, great. Sherry, Roshan is not able to join. I've invited him here, but I'm inviting him again. My plants are doing fine since it's the rainy season. They're all happy. Hi, Roshan. Finally, glad to
Hi,
have you
Ann.
here.
Yeah.
Great to see you here.
Sorry. Yeah.
No,
Sorry.
no,
Let me just
absolutely okay.
adjust this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'll give you
All
time.
right. So, yeah.
All
Hope I'm
set?
audible.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Pretty excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. So we've
Great.
been going back and forth over messages and all. Finally, we get to say a hi face to face. So it's really good.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
really
It's
happy
great.
to have
It's
you
great.
here. Thanks for, saying yes to coming here and, sharing your insights on cacti with us. I mean, I'm really grateful and the community is also really grateful. So, guys, for those of you who don't know Roshan, I'll just quickly introduce you to him. His handle is called Cactus Rosh. So that itself shows that he is a person who's totally in love with cacti, right? So he started his gardening journey. I think it started with his wife, right? Your wife was the gardener first.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And eventually it rubs off from the wives to the husbands and all that happens. We
Yeah.
know it. All of us experience that. So that
Yeah.
happened to Roshan as well. And he started with cacti. Then he went to euphorbia and gasteria and sansevieria, right? All those plants that, caught your attention and you started keeping them. Now he has over 500 unique plants, which is really amazing. So we would really like to know how you care for cacti, what you know about it, what could beginners like us, get insights from you to keep our cacti healthy and alive. Okay, so we've got loads of questions for you. Firstly, I would like to give you a moment to share anything that you want to share about yourself with us. If you have anything, if I've left out
Sure.
anything.
No, no, I think pretty much whatever you have said says it all. In general, I love plants, right? Whether it is a flowering plant or anything else. So my wife was into foliage plants and she used to care for them. And slowly and steadily, I started getting my hands muddy. And that's when I realized that foliage was not for me because it required a lot of attention, a lot of watering. So it's too much of work. Then I tried to find out what plants don't need water.
That's a
And
smart
then
thing
I,
to do.
And then I ended up with cactus, and slowly, yes, to euphorbia and other plants, hardy plants. I don't like to care after or look after my plants too much. I like plants who can manage themselves. As
Yeah.
parents, I think a lot of us want our children to be that way. So,
Oh yeah, we wish.
yeah, yeah. So, as a plant parent, I also wanted to grow something that would manage by itself, and thankfully, I found something that interests me, and yeah, that's about it.
That's wonderful. Okay, so now that you shared with us how you fell in love with cacti, also let us know, like, do you have a figure of exactly how many plants you own? We would just like to know.
It's hard to give a number because if I think my wife is also listening to this call, so if I give a number, she'll get an insight into how much money I've spent.
Oh,
Yeah, so so yeah, probably 600 odd, I would safely say.
whoa, that's quite a number. That's amazing. That's great to know. So you definitely have good amount of experience with this category of plants.
Yeah,
Okay, so to just start with, can you show us some easy cacti that uh, beginners could keep? If you could show us and if you could tell us a
sure,
few names.
sure,
So if I'm
sure.
new to gardening and I'm interested in cactus, what are the plants that I would love? What are the plants that I should go for?
I'll before I show some of the plants. I think the weather was playing tricks, so I wanted to do it from my terrace so that I could show more plants. But and now I'm doing it indoors from my balcony. So I've got a few plants here, and I'll show it show it to everyone. But before that, what I would like to like tell everyone here is don't go after plants that you see on Instagram. Every plant that you see beautiful feeds. Please don't go after that initially.
True,
As a
true.
beginner, it's so wonderful to see those Instagram feeds, the Facebook feeds where you see lovely, beautiful plants, but it's very difficult to care for them. First of all, it's very difficult to acquire them.
Yeah,
And once you acquire them, it's very difficult to care for them. And you pay a lot of money for some of those plants. And if you
true.
end up losing it, your passion is down the drain. So you don't
Yes,
have that hobby anymore. So I would love everyone to visit your local nurseries. That's the best place to start any gardening hobby, right? Your local nursery, because the plants that are thriving in your local nursery, you can safely say that you will be able to manage that too.
very true.
At least 80-90% of what the local
Yeah.
nurseries do manage, we'll be
But
safely
that's
able to
not
manage it.
everywhere, right? Certain places like
Uh,
Mumbai is still challenging for cacti
yes,
and
yes, yes,
what
and we'll
survives in
talk
the
about
local
that.
nursery. Yeah, we'll go get to that.
We'll get to
Yeah,
that. That's a tricky part. So some of
yeah.
the easy growing plants. Sorry, my stand is not very stable.
That's okay.
Sorry, yeah. Just give me a moment, please. Yeah, some of the easy growing plants. You have something. I'm sure that this is something everyone would have seen,
Yes,
right? And
definitely.
lots of feeds in your local nurseries.
Yeah, yes.
It's not as cute as it sounds. People call it bunny ear cactus.
But yes.
It is not cute. It looks fuzzy. If you touch it, these
Oh my.
yellow things
Tell
that
me
look as
about it.
fur balls, yeah, they are not.
I know.
They
And they
are.
just don't go off your hand, right? Those thorns are so
Yes, yes,
fine. They will just stick
yes.
to your skin. It's terrible. It's
Yes,
terrible.
but
I've
this
had
is yeah,
experiences.
but this is one of the easiest plants that you can grow
Yeah,
as a cacti in a hobby is that you a plant that you could start off with. This will go grow in your regular soil, and we'll talk about soil as well because it's an important
yeah,
aspect.
exactly.
If you see in your local nurseries, these plants are growing in regular your red soil. They don't do anything else. And these are hardy plants, opentias. So this is a type of opentia. So there are multiple subspecies in opentia. Opentia is one of the easiest growing plants that you can lay your hands on. Um, so there are plants like mammillaria, and
Hmm.
this again. This is one of the slightly expensive versions because of its copper red bristles, but
Yes.
there are the golden ones and the silver ones that are readily
Hmm.
available in every nursery that you
Yeah.
see, and they would be very cost effective as well. I think a large pot comes, at least in our local nursery, a large pot comes for $100, right?
Hmm.
And these are plants that you should start your journey with, because even if you lose it, you're just losing a 100 rupee pot, and you can just go and try it again, right? But if you venture into something like maybe, uh, let's see, I got something. Uh, Something like this. This is a Stenoceres. Um, this is one of the
Can you just
semi-rare
hold it a
Stenoceres
little up?
species. Yeah,
Can you just,
yeah.
yeah,
I don't know whether you can see it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
this is a recent acquisition, and these are plants that are not easily available. So we should not just
hmm,
go guns blazing and try to acquire some of these plants.
that's true.
We should go for what's available in nurseries. Your astrophytums, your gymnocalyciums. These are plants that are readily available in most nurseries these days, and I think we
Astrophytums,
all should.
Roshan, about astrophytums,
Yeah,
are
yeah,
they
yeah.
generally easy to keep or they are also a little bit tricky?
It depends. So it depends. Don't pay too much for it. I'll just show you one of
Hmm.
them, which is like an
You're saying
easy
the
to
common,
maintain
easy
plant.
to find
The
ones.
the yeah the easy to find ones.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at
Yeah.
this, and I picked this plant specifically for a reason, and we'll talk about that sometime later. But I just want to show you this side.
It's
So this is a
beautiful.
very easy
Hmm.
growing plant. It's a
Hmm.
very easy growing plant. I don't water it at all. To be very honest, like I'm one of the laziest gardeners. I don't know why I didn't keep my handle as lazy gardener, but I think it was already taken. But this is one of the easiest plants to grow, in my opinion. There are few diseases that we should keep a lookout for, and if you spot it in time, then all plants are easy, right? So the trick is to know your plant, and that's what I would tell you, that the easy growing plants, look for mammillarias, look for ferrocactus. Ferrocactus is also one of the easier growing plants. It grows into a large barrel, but yeah, to start with, I think what you would
It's
find
hardy.
in
Hmm.
200 rupees in your local nursery, it's a decent sized plant, and it gives you some of the plants, some of the cacti are very small, very tiny, right? And even if you spend like $1,000, you're holding something which is the size
Hmm.
of your thumb finger. It doesn't give you that wow. When initially you are a gardener, you would want to show somebody, right? I spent 200 rupees in a nursery, and I want to show
That's true.
something, right?
That's true.
And to be very honest, and this has happened with me, when I initially got some of the plants home, and my mother would say, all your plants look the same. Why are you spending money on it, right? So and that's true for everyone. When you start looking, observing the plants, it slowly gets to you. Then you
Yes.
understand the spines, the different formations. Every plant will have multiple subspecies, so you'll learn to understand that. But coming back to the original question, and not to digress too much, the easier plants are, if you look at the cacti, you will have a ferrocactus, you will have melocactus, opuntia, mammillaria, some of the easily available astrophytums. Gymnocalycium is very easy to grow. So these I would suggest that start with these, right? And if you look at, and we'll also talk about euphorbia because it is one of my other loves. While this specifically
Definitely.
was about cacti, I would probably want to touch upon euphorbia, because a lot of people, even the nurseries that you would visit, they would tag those as cacti. So most of the
Hmm.
euphorbia that you see, they will be called as cactus.
They're on
Um,
one rack. Yeah.
yeah, they're on
The
one
rest.
rack because yeah, because they have spines, they look the
Yeah.
same. So
That's true.
yeah, people generally tend to consider it as a cactus, but it's a different genus altogether. And both cacti and euphorbia are large genuses, like almost
Exactly.
2,000 plus species in these. And if you look at the subspecies, in like there,
It's
you
incredible.
wouldn't be able to, yeah, you wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
at least acquire a collection and say that I have all the cacti in the world. It's impossible. I don't think
Impossible.
anybody should even even attempt that, right?
Attempt or
So
dream
yeah,
that probably.
yeah. So yeah, so start with easy ones. Start with something that your local nursery grows, and that's the easiest giveaway to know that this plant can survive your condition. And we'll talk about conditions and soil and
Yes.
water and a lot of other things. But yeah, so we can.
So
If
we
I've
can actually
answered this
move on to
question,
the
we can.
conditions and
Yeah,
probably we can do the rare cacti little later on. So you can talk about
sure.
basic care and information about cacti, light, watering, the weather. You can cover all those aspects as you it comes to you.
I think any gardener would know three things, right? You need soil to grow your plant. You need light, and you need to feed it something, water, nutrition, whatever it is, right? These are three essentials, I think, as any gardener would know, whether you're growing grass in your lawn or whether you're growing some rare species of herbs or trees. But these are the three things that and even with cactus or euphorbia or any succulent for that matter, uh, keep it very simple. Read up about what you're growing. That's the trick. You need to know what you're growing. So there are, while we look at cacti as hardy plants, there are some cacti that I have managed to kill because I thought they would survive the sun. But when I read up about it, they grow in shade. They grow under large trees, or they grow under the rock cliffs where they are protected from the sun. And unless you read up and unless you know about such finer nuances, you wouldn't be able to do justice to what you're growing, right? The last thing you would want to do is not to know your plant, and that's the first thing. Read up. Once you read up, you will know that the three essentials, how they are important to the plants that you're growing, right? Most cacti, I will be very general in this, because if we start looking at different types of cacti and then their habits and how they grow and what soil they need, then it will be a very elaborate
We
session.
don't
So I'll
have.
try to keep
Yeah,
it, yeah,
that's true.
I'll try to keep it very simple.
Yeah.
Uh, Free draining soil is a must. Now, what is free draining? You need to water your cacti thoroughly, right? So
Correct.
water it till it drains out from the bottom, right? So
Deep
that's
water
what
it.
you
Yeah.
should do. Water it deep, but the water should not stay in the pot, and that's the thing. So, and how do you do that? You use something which are like coarse particles, right? You can use coarse sand, you can use cinder. A lot of people I know who use the brick discards. When you go to
Hmm.
a construction site, there is a lot of brick discard, so they
Yeah.
sieve that, and whatever are the larger, the coarser pieces, and it's very cost effective. While I have been not able to find such thing locally, and it's too much of work, but I know a lot of gardeners who do that because it's easy to find, it's readily available. Sand, while a lot of sand mafia and a lot of things are going on, so sand is difficult to get.
Yeah.
Um, but these days, I think cinder has been quite popular, and there are a lot of sellers around who are selling cinder. And cinder, if I remember correctly, it ranges from 25 rupees a kilo to upwards of 60, 70 rupees a kilo, depending on the quality and the wash cycle. Cinder is essentially a byproduct of your furnace. So a lot of these coal and a lot of metals that burn, they leave out residue, and that residue is cleaned up and used for gardening. So that's something, again, is a free draining soil. But I would again suggest to go for what is easily available in your area. A lot of people I know use coarse sand or grit or whatever. In the aquarium, a lot of people use aquarium sand. That also is
Even
good because
slightly
it
larger
is
in
free.
size,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Not
slightly
the
larger.
fine
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Oh, if you use the fine one,
Fine.
your plants are dead.
Yeah,
so
because they
so
hold a
yeah,
lot of water, right?
they do.
River
They
sand.
do. Yeah, river sand, regular river sand. If you want to
Hmm.
dredge out some regular river sand and try to use it for your plants, I think
It's tricky.
it's going to be a nightmare. So you'll have to use a sieve to ensure that you're only getting the larger, the coarser
Hmm.
particles out, and rest of it you just discard it. So those are not good. So from a soil point of view, coarse any coarse soil, free draining soil is a must. Now, coming to the other important aspect, we'll talk about additives a little later when we talk about feeding. But the other thing that is very essential is light. And again, light depends on where you're staying, right? In northern India, light may be a completely different thing than somewhere like Bangalore or, for that matter, Mumbai, right? The
Correct.
climate plays a very important role in growing your plants. You need to understand what is the climate that you're growing these plants in, and then to nurture your plants to acclimatize to your kind of a weather, and it needs to happen very slowly, because if any immediate change of weather or climate or light for your plant, it could potentially be fatal, right? And I will show you some examples of what light can do you, what damage light can do to your plants, right? So light is very essential, but if you let's say that I buy a plant from my local nursery, if all of us would have seen local nurseries have those shade nets, all the plants are
Hmm.
kept under the shade nets, so they're not exposed to sun at any time. They get filtered sun, which is about maybe 40% is filtered, and that's what they get. Now, just because I bought a cacti from the local nursery, it looks very sturdy. It looks the spines looks awesome. So I want to just ensure that I put it on full sun and give it the blast so that the spines can grow larger and the bristles can be like better off. But it's the it's an incorrect thing to do. What we actually need to do is slowly and gradually change the lighting conditions. So what I would ideally suggest to do is start with the morning light. So you start keeping your plant out for a few hours in the day. Then you increase the frequency, increase the duration of the light that the plant gets. And once you feel that about 2 weeks, if you run this cycle for about 2 weeks, you can safely say that your plant would understand that it is now getting a different kind of light and it changes its behavior. So well, we'll not go into the molecular structure and all those things, but but the plant generally understands that the environment has changed, and God has created a miracle. Uh, or even the plants know how to grow, right? You put them in tough
They
conditions, they know
adapt.
how to,
Yeah.
yeah, they adapt, right? So that's the right word. They adapt. So once you start giving them sufficient light, then they know that they need to do something different to manage or adjust to that light, and then they will cope up
Correct.
really well. And if you don't do that, let me just show you the astrophytum that I was showing. I'll just show you the other side. What you see here is called a sunburn,
Okay.
right? You can see this brown marking on this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is essentially a sunburn. So what happened was, and I'll tell you the reason why this happened. So during Christmas, I wanted to renovate my terrace. Now I got all my plants inside, and I completely forgot the. So it's like I forgot to practice what I preach. So once the terrace was ready, I
Happens to all
was
of us.
so excited. I was so excited to put my plants out back in the sun that I completely forgot that they had been sitting in my bedroom near the windowsill
Oh.
for about a month, and I just put them out, and they started burning out. So so this is a disaster. So this is something that we all should understand, that while light is essential for your plants, it is also damaging if it is applied incorrectly. So whether you move plants from what do you say, full sun to a shade, or from a shade to a full sun, you need to acclimatize the plant so that it is able to adjust well. And
That's
one
true
other
to all
thing that,
plants.
yeah, absolutely. And one other thing that is important is, if you're growing it in a terrace, or not in a terrace, in a balcony where you get only the morning sun. So sometimes what happens is the side that does not get light has adjusted itself to not be able to manage the sun. So it lives in the shade all day. So if you by mistake turn that plant around, in a few days you would see that there's a scar on that plant, and that's the same thing, that it's sunburn. Basically, you the side of the plant that was never exposed to the sun is suddenly exposed to your rays, and that leads to sunburn. So we talked about soil, that soil free draining soil is essential. We spoke about sun. Sun is very important. At least light, I would say optimum lighting is important. And a lot of
Yeah.
places, and we'll talk about that. And I think a lot of friends of mine who do not get good lighting, they use artificial lights.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I've seen you like trying around something
Yeah.
with artificial lights with. So it's not something that I have practiced, so I wouldn't speak about that, because it's I get sufficient light, natural light, so I have not been trying out anything on the artificial light. But there are a lot of people I know who actually, because they do not get the natural light, they have to invest in artificial light,
Yes, that's true.
and that's difficult. But yeah, that's the way it goes. Plants
Yeah.
need light.
We have no
The
option. We have to give them
yeah.
what they want.
Yes. Yes. And the other thing, and this is something that all of us like to do, watering our plants,
Yeah.
right?
I keep saying that. I mean,
We
people
love to
just
water the
enjoy
plants.
watering plants, really.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something I really dislike, and that's why my plants actually do well because I don't feed them water. At least
Yeah.
I don't do it very regularly. Only when I
Mm.
observe signs of dehydration, and I'll just quickly show you what I mean by that. Um, this plant that you see, it has a seed pod on top. You can see a seed pod on top,
It's
but this plant is actually dehydrated. This is a Gymnocalcium, a hybrid. I don't know the subspecies, the cross that was used to breed this, but this is again a very easily found plant in your local nursery. But this is actually dehydrated. If you see, you can clearly make out the chins are thin. It is not as
mm,
fat as it used to be. So you will
slightly
observe the
shrunken. Yeah.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
it's shrunk. Yes, it's shrunk. So this plant is not dead. This will easily survive, and I don't have a specimen with me, but I can tell you an example. I can narrate an incident where I a similar Gymnocalcium, not this species, but a different one. I just left it without watering. I would say for about 7 months. 7 months without water, and I'd left
Oh,
it in a corner,
that's
and I
quite a bit.
completely forgot about it, right? And it was not monsoon, so it did not get any other water. It was just
Okay.
parched.
No.
And when I spotted the plant, it was like bone dry. It's dehydrated, and the I would say it's shrunk so much that it was almost meeting the soil.
Oh
The top was actually
my.
meeting the soil, right? But that plant survived, and it is very healthy
Really?
right now. I forgot to bring it down, but the beauty with these plants is you can kill them by overwatering, but it's very
Yes.
difficult to kill them by underwatering. And that's what I want. If there is one takeaway from this whole live session that we are doing,
Mm.
is
Yeah.
unlike your foliage plants, these don't need regular watering.
Correct.
So I would always suggest beginners to be cautious and underwater, even if they think that uh, a cup is enough. I would suggest start with half a cup,
Correct.
right? So underwatering is always good. Overwatering is never good for these plants,
Never.
and especially because a lot of us do not have access to free draining soil. Cinder is expensive. Coarse sand is not easily found.
Mm.
So if you're trying to grow it in a mix that your local nursery has provided, then underwatering is the key.
Yeah.
Just feed it very
Many
little,
local
and yeah.
nurseries, they also put their cacti in coco peat,
Yes,
is
and
what I've seen.
we would, yeah, yeah. I would talk about that, and I wanted to.
So,
I didn't know whether it was interesting for this forum, but I know a friend of mine does this. He's a hobbyist and a breeder. He grows all his plants in coco peat alone. It's very
oh,
difficult. It's a nightmare if you miss the watering schedule. And
that's
we know how coco peat is, right? The coco coir. I think a lot of us who have used it for orchids and other plants know that once it becomes dry, it is actually hydrophobic.
yes,
It
it is.
repels water. It doesn't
Yes.
take in water anymore. So if your plant is growing in coco peat alone and you leave it the way I carelessly forget to water for 2 3 weeks, then you try to water it. The water,
Yeah, insides
so
don't soak in completely.
it will not soak in the water, and it will completely start repelling water. So if you observe your local nursery's watering cycle, they would have some ayah or some gardener who waters the plants every alternate day. And while it is not the right thing to do, they do not have a choice, because even if uh, 10% of their plants go away, the others get sold. So they don't mind losing
Mm.
10% of their
Correct.
plants. But for us who are hobbyists and
True.
who are growing limited plants in limited space, even if we lose a single plant, it's not good for us, and it actually brings our morale down. And all of us grow plants because we want to enjoy seeing our plants thrive, and that's what,
Correct.
the type of plant do not matter. It's just that the success of your gardening gives you a lot of joy. If your plants thrive, nothing more joyous to a gardener. And
That's true.
if you start using incorrect media and not understand what that media does for your plant, that's why I do not suggest anyone, at least whoever talk to me about soil, I just ask them to avoid cocopeat because
Hmm.
cocopeat retains a lot of water. So you need to really understand the media to be able to use cocopeat effectively. And the reason why nurseries use cocopeat is because it is lightweight. It is easier for them to transport the plants, and that's the reason why nurseries use cocopeat. But
So what would you
I would,
suggest, Roshan? What would you suggest? Like, if I buy a cacti that is in coco peat, should I
hmm.
bring it home and repot it immediately, or should I wait for some time for it to acclimatize to the conditions
Yes.
in my home? So
I
how?
think you said it right. You need to wait. And the other mistake that I have done in the past is that as soon as I get it, and these are two mistakes that a lot of us commit. One is as soon as we get the plant, we either tell the nursery wala bhaiya saying that bhaiya isko dusre mein pot karke mere ko de do,
Exactly.
right?
Correct.
Immediately we say just
Yeah.
dig it out, put it in something else, and give it to us. It's not the right thing to do.
Correct. I totally agree
That's
with you.
not the right thing to do. While all of us are guilty of doing that as novice gardeners, once you start realizing the pitfalls of that, you would start avoiding it. So that's a
Yes.
strict no. So let your plant adjust to your space. And also another thing, very important thing, and a lot of us again miss this is we should isolate the plants. The new garden plants, the nursery plants that we get, we
Mhm.
should isolate it because there are a lot of bugs that they could carry that would
Mhm.
eventually spread or rub off onto your plants if you're not careful enough. Mealy bugs, your scales. Well, we'll talk about all these things, but
Yeah.
these pests once they infiltrate your space, it's a nightmare to.
It is.
I know. I've
That's
seen
true.
some of your posts where you talk about these, and I know it's a nightmare. It's difficult to find them, and once you locate them, it's difficult to weed them out. So yeah, it's a
And you
nightmare. So
need
two
to
things
have
very
that
important.
time to consistently, be at it. Battling
Yes,
the pest is
yes,
really
yes.
challenging.
So yeah, so
So we
simple
were,
answer.
yeah,
Yeah, simple
yeah.
answer. Don't report it immediately. Give it some time and keep it isolated for some time till you know that your plant is healthy.
Okay, that's great. Okay, Roshan, just before we continue, I would like to tell all the guys who have, joined this session, you can leave your questions down in the chat so that at the end we'll have like a 10-15 minute or something where Roshan can try and answer as many questions as possible. So put in your questions if you have any doubts. If it's not answered in this session, please do put in your questions. We'll try to answer as many as we can. Okay,
Sure.
Roshan, now you can continue. You spoke about light, you spoke about soil, right? And
Yeah.
now we move on to fertilizing
Yeah.
or
Yeah. So we can talk about that. So watering, anyways, we spoke about.
watering. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Sorry.
we spoke about watering. The next thing that we need to understand is nutrition. What do you feed your
Hmm.
plants? Right?
Correct.
So I try to keep it simple. While I have bought something called DAP, I think
Yeah.
a lot of us would have heard
Nurseries use
about
it.
it.
Yeah.
Nurseries use it.
Correct.
I have bought it, but the bottle is still unopened.
Unopened.
I don't have the I would say the courage to use it because of all the negatives that I have read about it, and I'll tell try to explain it in a simple language so that all of us can understand. I'll first of all I'll tell you what I use. I use
Okay.
something called bone dust. Uh, this
Is it
is
bone meal and
it is
bone dust
bone
is the
meal.
same?
Bone meal and bone dust are the same. Dust I use dust because bone meal gives out a foul smell. I don't know whether
Yes, it
if
does. Yeah.
anybody would have used it. I
I
think
have
they would
tried
know
it,
that it.
yes.
Yeah, and I don't have pets around, but if people have pets, dogs especially, then bone meal. Then you would find your
Oh,
puppy or your dog digging up your plant, so which you
oh
wouldn't want to do.
really? That's so
Yeah.
cute.
so so that's the reason why I go for bone dust. Bone dust is
Okay.
a bit more processed bone meal. So it's basically a good amount of nutrition that your plant can get. So that's one thing that I use. The other thing that I use, again, organic, is your neem. It's called neem cake. So neem
Yeah.
cake, again, I use the powdered form because it's easier to handle. I just put it in a bottle and I just sprinkle it. Just because it is easily accessible for me, I use the neem cake powder. But you could as well use the neem cake and like crush the cake with your hands. I think it's exciting to do that. It's interesting to do that as well because unless you get your hands in the soil, I think you're not a true gardener. So,
That's true.
um,
Dirt under your
so
fingernails.
yes, yes. So it's fun to do all that. So I use these two things as the primary source of nutrition for my plants. The other thing I have tried, and again I don't know whether it was successful, is something called Basacote, Basacote. This is again
It's
a
just a
slightly
Osmocote
yes, is a
equivalent
variant.
in India, right?
Yeah. So Osmocote is pretty expensive
Yeah.
if you
And
would
you don't
want to
get it
use
in
it.
India. I think you'll have to import it or something.
You would have to import it. So
Great.
basically, you pay quite a premium to get
That's
Osmocote.
true.
So Basacote is something that is available freely. It in behavior, it is the same. That it's a long-lasting fertilizer. It's a slow-release fertilizer. These are granules that you can just put it on top of your pot, 5, 6 granules in a pot, in a 4-inch, 5-inch pot, and they should last you for 8 to 9 months. That's what they say. That at least that's
Yeah.
what the literature says. I have
So at
tried it
that
on my
point, you don't
plants.
have to, sorry, at that
Nothing.
point, you don't
No, no,
have to
yeah,
fertilize it with anything else.
absolutely nothing else.
Just
Just
six, sorry.
6, 7 granules, and you're good for 6 to 7 months. Some of the variants of Basacote even promise to do it for 9 months,
Okay.
right? So basically, what you do is just either just put it in on top of your topsoil, or if you want to just dig it up a little and just place it inside, it doesn't matter. But they say that. But for me, I have never like felt anything that happened to my plant because I use Pasacote. My plants don't grow any
Differently.
faster. My plants don't. Yeah, there's no difference. I haven't,
Okay.
at least I haven't witnessed any observable difference. A lot of people swear by it, and to be very honest, it's something that is very popular, right?
I know.
Osmocote and Basacote are very popular.
That's
So maybe I have not been able to use it effectively, and it may vary from person to person. And I think we'll also talk about that. What works for me may not work for Anne, may not work for Jake, may not
very
work
true.
for anybody else, right?
Yeah.
So whatever works for you, and I would always recommend that whatever works for you, you need to try out as a gardener, as a hobbyist. You need to try out all the things that you get your hands on to. And once you do that, you get to know that, okay, this is the thing that I tried and it worked for this plant and it didn't work for the other one. So it's always a learning, and none of us are experts. While it is the session is schooled by a
It's
cacti
good.
expert, I'm not an expert, right? And I'm sure that anybody who thinks of themselves as experts in the field
True.
would be
It's
only kidding themselves,
foolish.
right? So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah. So
We can
so
just
it's
call
all it's
ourselves
all
experts. It's just we're learning
yes, yes,
forever. Till we die, we'll be
yeah,
learning.
yes, yes. And it's very interesting also to know what the things you're adding to your plants, what they do to your plants, right? There is something called vermicompost also, which is very good, right? But I haven't personally used it, so I don't want to come to this forum and say that I recommend vermicompost. Vermicompost is very good. A lot of gardeners use it. A lot of cacti hobbyists use vermicompost. But I haven't personally used it. I only use bone meal, and I only use neem powder, neem khali or neem powder, whatever you call it. But everyone swears by vermicompost. If you get good quality vermicompost, which I don't know where to get it from locally, if you can get your hands on a good quality vermicompost, which are essentially worm castings,
Yeah.
right? So if you get good quality supplies, I would encourage you to use that, because if it is locally available and it's good, go ahead and use it and see how your plant grows in that, right? The only thing that you need to know is your soil has to be free draining.
Correct.
On that soil, even if you add a little bit extra natural fertilizer, it doesn't matter. But
Because
whereas
that will
if
be a
you
little moisture retaining, right?
yes, yes, yes.
Vermicomposition.
Yes, yes. But even then, the plants would be fine even if you add extra. So I don't actually go by any measurements of bone meal or neem khali. I just go with the flow. I just
Andaza.
pour in whatever अंदाजा में
Yeah,
जितना गिरा गिरा, next plant को
correct.
जितना मिला मिला, and there is no damage done because these don't, unlike the DAP and other artificial fertilizers, these don't damage the plants if you give excess.
Hmm.
So that's another important reason why I don't use the other ones, because I'm not very confident whether it's the right measure I'm giving my plants.
Correct. And the rule goes, what you talked about overwatering, I think that goes for fertilizing also, right?
Yes.
Under fertilizing is better than over fertilizing. Just
Yes,
like
yes,
underwatering
yes,
is
yes,
better.
yes. But like I said, if you're using these natural ingredients, even if you over fertilize by mistake, no harm done. There's like it won't damage your plant too much.
Yeah, correct. Correct.
The other thing that I use sometimes, and this all people who have a garden, I think, swear by, is seaweed solution.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's my absolute
right.
favorite.
Yeah. So
I don't know
so
why, it's just my
so
favorite.
yeah, it's cool. It's the it gives a good color on your water when you
Yeah,
spray it.
you
It's
feel like you're
fun.
doing something good for the plants.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know whether what is in it, but it
Exactly.
doesn't damage your plant.
It doesn't. It's mild. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
it's
best part.
mild.
It's mild.
Yeah, it's mild. And if you want your plants to flower,
Hmm.
right? If you want your plants to flower, some of these cacti that we have
Yeah,
spoken about are quite floriferous. So they
yeah.
flower a lot,
They have
right?
beautiful blooms. Yeah.
Yes. But I think a lot of us would have also seen that sometimes we get so many buds, but they don't actually develop. They just fall off.
Yeah.
And if anyone is facing this issue, there are two things you can do. One is move the plant to a better lighting. So light could be an issue. The other one is it
Yes.
doesn't have enough nutrients to support the flowering. So
Flower.
at that point, seaweed solution is the best that I would recommend. If you spray it in the evening, seaweed solution in the either in the evening or early morning, both are good. Do not do it during peak sun, noon time. Avoid fertilizing during that time. Evenings are the best. So if you can just
Cooler times.
spray, yeah, cooler times, and give a good spray of seaweed solution, and you continue that fortnightly. I think that's good for your plant. I don't do it fortnightly. I just like whenever I get time, I do it. So, but a lot of people do fortnightly schedule. So, uh,
Yeah.
so that actually is good.
So you can spray it over your cacti also.
Yes, 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 yes. Over
Okay,
on
when you
your
spoke about
so
watering, just one question. Uh, I've heard a lot of bottom watering tips and not getting the cacti wet. So tell me about that. How is it in your
okay, I'll tell
experience?
you. Yeah, I'll tell you from my point of view. Like told you, my thumb rule is whatever can be done really quickly, I do that. So if I have time at hand, I like to spend time in the
Hmm.
garden. But my kids also need time. My wife also
Yeah.
needs time. My parents also need time. So time is a precious commodity. So if you have
Yes,
time at your
yes.
hands, you can bottom water plant by plant.
Do all.
It's time consuming, right?
But not when you
And
have 600 plants, right?
no, so that's why I don't bother. So what I do is I don't bother. I just spray over them, or sometimes I use the I would rather recommend you to use a long spout, a thin spout, a narrow spout, a
Water.
long one, which you can easily reach, and then just give a steady flow of water on your plants till it drains from the bottom. So that's what I do a lot of times. But sometimes I just go ahead and spray using a shower also. So doesn't matter. If your soil is well draining, I think it doesn't matter.
And if there's enough light also for the plant to.
Yes, yes, to dry
So
out.
if all
So,
you
so
get everything else right, this also
yes,
works.
yes. And avoid watering in the evenings, because
Hmm.
then there is a lesser chance of your soil to dry
Yeah.
out. So you prefer to water early mornings.
Early
If
mornings.
if yeah if
if you can.
That's the only time I get actually. So I find that easy to manage.
Yeah.
If I get time early morning, that's a good hour spent on plants.
Good. Okay, so we have spoken about fertilizers as well. So are we missing out anything? Okay, what about temperatures? Let's talk about temperatures.
So now we'll talk about climate. Rather than just saying temperature, we'll just talk about climate,
Yeah,
right?
climate.
Uh,
Yeah.
so 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 we spoke about all these things that are required for your plant. Now there is a lot of threat to your plant. One of the biggest threat is where you live, right? Your
Yeah.
cacti or the plant that you are growing doesn't uh, doesn't or is not a natural grower in your condition,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You need to ensure that it
Most of
is
the time
healthy.
it's
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
good
absolutely.
for rare plants.
And if you live in a place like Mumbai, right, which is humid, or in Kerala, which is humid,
Oh my.
managing cactus is a overwhelming task, right? Because then you would actually, I would then suggest to make wise decisions, and those wise decisions again come with experience or through reading. So don't go for cactus that are crested. Thin crested cactus is an absolute no-no in humid conditions because they are susceptible to rot. And I can tell you numerous incidents where crested plants just melt away. One day you would see them healthy, the next day they will
Yeah.
just melt away, and I'm not kidding. It just sinks in your pot.
Yeah. Just
You wouldn't
it
know
was
what
so
happened.
perky, happy looking. The
Yeah, you
Sansevieras
wouldn't know what
especially.
happened.
It's just yellow and melt. It's like what's
Yes,
happening?
yes, yes. So choice of plants is a key. I wouldn't say there is any right way to grow a plant in a humid condition. You just need to figure out what plants you can manage in your condition. See, even if it is humid and you can give it enough, there are things that you can do to avoid rot, which is in humid conditions, do not water the plant. Never water the plant. So even if you're not watering the plant for 6 months, unless the plant cries water, basically if your
Yeah.
plant shrinks and it demands water, just feed it a little, but never regularly water plants in humid conditions. So basically, I know a lot of people who do not water plants for 6 months. People who live in Mumbai and Kerala, they don't water plants
Mm-hmm.
for 5 to 6 months because
Yeah.
there's enough moisture in the air for these plants to survive, and avoid giving them lot of rain. While rainwater is good for the plants, every day if your plants get rain, there is
There is
not
no
enough
control.
time for
Yeah.
there's no time for the soil to dry out, and if the soil doesn't dry out, the rot will set in and your plant dies. So uh, the cheapest jugaad I can tell you for people who have a terrace and they want to grow cactus in the terrace and monsoons are a nightmare, just invest in a 500 rupee plastic sheet that you get, right,
Yeah.
and just throw it over your plant so that they don't get the direct rain. And you can just knock it. While it's not beautiful to look at, it's not like a poly
It
house or
saves your
something, but it,
plants.
it saves your plant, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
that's something that I would strongly recommend to stop watering the plants in humid conditions and to avoid a lot of water retention.
and if you can increase the airflow in any way, would that also help?
It will help.
Like
It will
keep
help
it
to
near
dry
in
out.
an AC room or things like that. If
AC
you
room
have grow
again.
lights.
Yeah. So if you come to that, like I said, I do not have experience growing these plants indoors, but I've seen people doing it and I've seen people managing it. See, it's a mix of all these things that we have said. It's a mix of soil, it's a mix of how much light you're giving, it's a mix of the climate, which is how much airflow the plant is getting, what kind of air the plant is getting, whether it's dry air, whether it's humid air, and what is the watering that you're augmenting it with, and the feeding. Obviously, never feed when the plant is not growing. So a lot of gardeners and a lot of us, I think, I also, when I started off
Yeah,
gardening, when I see that the plant is not growing, it is staying the
just
same size,
fertilize.
I just think fertilize it. Easiest way, fertilize it and it'll grow. It's a short way to kill your plant. Again, so killing plants are easiest ways are over watering and over fertilizing.
Yeah.
So wait for
Especially
your
when the
plant to
plant is
show
under some
signs.
stress. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Absolutely. So I would say fertilize only when the plant has or is showing signs of growth, and you would spot the signs of growth, like the new
Yeah.
bristles that are coming out. The new growth would be slightly lighter in color, so you would know that the plant is growing. When the plant is growing, we need to augment it with support, and that support could be any of the nutrients
That's a
that we
very
spoke
good
about.
point. Yeah, it's a very good point. Thank you so much. We are just 5 minutes short of this live session ending. So I
Sure.
think we will probably, oh, I think 10 minutes are left, right? So
Okay.
we have a little more time. We'll talk about diseases and pests quickly. And then the
Okay.
last 5 minutes, we'll keep it for you to answer questions as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we'll just speed it up a
Okay.
little.
Yes, yes. Sorry. So I wanted to throw away a plant, but I kept it just for this. And I wanted to show. This is the first time I have seen this, at least on my plants. This is called rust fungus,
Oh my. Yeah.
and
So there's no hope for this
it's
fellow?
the I, I have read about it. This is my first experience with rust fungus. So while I've read about it, I am going to discard the plant away because I don't see any way to salvage it. And it's the plant is completely orangish. It has that those spots, the fungus spots, and they easily spread. So I just was keeping it for this session so that I wanted to show everyone that this is something that your plant could be affected with. If your plant is showing these signs of orange rust colored spots on the body, you know that this plant you should not pick from your nursery. When you're looking of getting plants from a nursery, look for signs of health. Look for whether the plant is growing. Check for any brown spots, any squishy areas, any damages on the plant, and avoid plants with damages, because, and especially in humid areas, because any damage to a plant, while it would have healed, it is an area which is easily prone to rot. So avoid getting damaged plants in humid conditions. In dry conditions, they will do very well because anyways the weather is dry. There's very less chance of rot. The other very common pest all gardeners would have faced, and we spoke about it, are mealybugs. And all of us know what we do with mealybugs. I don't recommend any other treatment. What I do, I will just tell you. I use this is my magic potion. It's ulta, but it is Listerine.
Listerine.
The Listerine
Okay.
mouthwash, the
Really?
regular, the original. Yeah. So I just
I've heard
use
of it, but
half a cup.
yeah.
I just use half a cup, sorry, half a cap of the mouthwash, a little bit of neem oil, just because I want to feel good about using neem oil. I do not think neem oil does anything, to be very
Does
honest,
much.
and a lot of people swear by neem oil, but I haven't seen any benefit of neem oil. I just do it because people use it. I just put a little neem oil just to
Okay.
satisfy that need of
That you
using
feel that
neem
you're
oil.
doing what everyone is
Yes,
asking you
yes,
to do.
yes, yes. So I use a little neem oil and a little bit of Vim liquid wash,
Yeah,
the
the liquid
dishwash solution.
dishwash. Yeah.
So this combination has worked very well for me for mealy bugs. The other very damaging pest that you would find on cactus is scale.
Hmm.
Scales are, again, you would see they I don't know how to explain it. They are like small protrusions on your plant. You would spot them,
Hmm.
that
Yes.
there's something sticking onto your plant, and when you
It's
try to scrape
dry
it off,
and
it'll come.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll come off when you try to scrape it
It's
off.
like a little
The
mound, a
way,
tiny mound.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. So what do you do with these kind of plants? Again, isolate, clean it. I use a toothbrush, discarded
Yeah,
toothbrush,
just
old toothbrush, and I scrape it off, all the scales off. Keep the plant isolated. Only when the plant is healthy, I blend it in back in the environment that it was in. But scales, I don't. While I hate scales, uh, uh, and unless it is too damaging, unless the infestation has grown too much, you will be able to save your plant by a simple cleaning up of the plant. Mealybugs, again, you will be easily able to save your plant by mealybugs. But one thing I have not been able to save my plants from is root mealies. And a lot of us have heard about root mealies. We think that it is the same as the mealybugs that we see on the
no, it
plant,
is not.
but they are
Yeah.
far more dangerous because there is no sign of them being there. That is the whole thing. that you don't spot them under your roots, under your plant roots. Only when the plant shows severe sign of ill health, then you realize and try to uh, uproot it, and then you realize that it is full of root mealies. So I do not again have a solution for root mealies. What I do is I have had 3 or 4 infestations in the past. I just discard the soil. I clean the plant up. If it is salvageable, I just I cut away all the rotten roots, clean up as much as I can, let the plant dry, let the plant callus, the injuries callus, and then pot it back in fresh soil. So that's what I do with root mealies. Um, this is again something that I've bought from Amazon. This is imidacloprid. I
Yeah, I
think
was just going
this
to
is
ask
something
you
that,
about that. Yeah.
so
Al has
again,
been
I have
using
not
this, so yeah.
experimented. I have heard from Al. He suggested me to
Yeah.
look at this, but I again do not have experience. And I've spoken to a lot of people who use it.
Yeah.
They're saying that they use it to avoid ants in the area. It doesn't actually help with root mealies, but it avoids
Really?
the ants. And
Okay.
ants are one of the carriers of these. So
Mm.
if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
if you know
Where
the
there are root
life
mealies,
cycle.
there are ants.
Yes, yeah. But
Symbiotic. Yeah.
the way I would see it is, if you don't spot the ants, you wouldn't know that there are these mealybugs. If
Mm-hmm.
you spot your ant colonies in some particular area, then you know that there is something wrong in that area. They give you a sign.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Correct.
so in a way they are
But
helpful.
I've heard of people swear by imidacloprid, saying that
Yes,
it
yes,
is a preventive for root mealies. So
yes.
actually, I think you have to try and you have to find
I
out
have to try it, and
ultimately.
I'll probably
Yes, correct.
yeah, put it up somewhere. My experience
Yeah.
with this. But the other thing that I've heard most of the gardeners who use this say, that just using imidacloprid alone does not help. You will have to rotate it, because
Mm.
like everything, the pests also learn to cope up with this particular chemical.
Mm.
So you'll have to rotate the
That's true.
chemicals. You'll have to use
That's
something
true.
else in between.
So it's a challenge,
Yeah.
and we have to keep experimenting. And we are just three
Yes.
minutes
Yes.
short of this live
Sure.
ending.
Sure.
So quickly, we'll
Yeah.
rush through a
So,
few questions. Yeah.
yeah. Any
Anything you want
specific
to take?
questions that you have spotted? No, no. I'm okay with anything. Any specific question you have spotted?
So I'll just, even
Should
I'm trying to just,
should cactus? Okay, I see something. Should cactus and succulents be planted together in the same pot? Why not? Why not if you're not going to overwater it? There are a lot of these sets that you would have seen, beautiful sets on Instagram, where you would have a lot of cacti and succulents growing together, cohabiting, and it looks beautiful if you are able to manage uh, not overwatering and overindulging. I think all your succulents and cacti will do well together.
yeah.
But again, there is obviously some of the plants need more water than the others, so you would need to mix and match. You would need to know your plant to know which can go together. So we'll just look at something else. Is cinder enough as a potting mix for cacti? Absolutely, absolutely enough. You don't need to add anything. A lot of my plants are growing just in cinder, and I have not even given them any other feed, so it'll work. Okay, somebody is asking a question about Havartia, but I'm not the right person to answer it. I do grow Havartia, but yeah, so Havartia again, you just need to ensure that you're not watering on the Havartia. You just water the soil, and do not get the soil too wet. So that should, and give it a lot of sufficient air. It has to be in an airy space. If you put it in a humid space, Havartias will die. Um, Please give some solution. What is this? Uh, sorry, I can't.
Yeah, just take what you can.
No, I can't actually like read some of the questions. Okay, Bougainvillea, I will not be able to answer.
Yeah,
Vermicompost is
just stick
best.
to cacti for now.
Yeah.
I really think I
Yes,
need
cacti
another
can be
session with you.
misted. Cacti can be misted with water and seaweed solution. I think somebody asked that. So I do
Hmm.
that. So there
Okay.
is no harm in misting the plants.
Okay,
Okay,
so we are
somebody is there
down to
to
our
troll
last
me,
60
but yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay,
There
crested
will
plants.
always.
Crested plants are difficult to manage. Don't jump into crested plants. grow normal plants first. The monstrous and the crested plants you can start growing later on. So, and if you want to just close the session, then I think
Yes,
we're
we are
running short
down
of
to our
time.
last 40 seconds. So I will thank you, Roshan. Guys, please follow Roshan. His handle I will tag in the IGTV video that we will put up of this session. So you will get to see it aram se, fursat mein. So if you want to re-see the session, please go ahead. I'll put all details down there and do follow him at Cactus Rosh. And thank you so much. We are down to our last 17 seconds. So I say big bye and see you
Yeah.
next week.
Thanks, Sam.
Okay. I had
Thanks so
lots of
much.
fun with you. Yeah.
Yeah, same
Really,
here.
really great
It
information.
was great to be part of this. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you too. Bye bye.
Thanks everyone who joined and asked the
Thank you
questions.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so
You can
much,
just
guys. You all were amazing.
chat. Yeah, you can just do a personal message to me if I've not been able to answer any question here. I will try to answer as much as I can.
That's a great idea. Thank you so much for offering.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye. I think I will just end the session. Bye.
Yeah, sure.
Jake, I don't know what to do. 1 second, I'll leave Jake. He's troubling me
So this
purposely. I have no clue
yeah.
what to
So
do.
this will go in the spoilers then. Huh?
Yeah, I know he has so much bloopers of me ready, no? I'm like
Mm.
begging, please don't release any.
Yeah.
Please, I don't know how to end it. But it's gone beyond 1 hour.
So is it like was that like a fixed session of 1 hour or?
No, usually Instagram just allows us for a 1 hour live, but I am so bad
Mm.
at all this. So I don't know if they've updated or things have changed. Probably they've updated. So you want
Okay,
to
I can
answer a few
probably answer.
questions?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
actually,
can probably
that's
answer
fun.
a few questions. Yeah, what precautions to take for cacti during the monsoons? I think we brushed upon this. Don't water your plants in the monsoons. I would avoid watering the plants till they show signs of absolute dehydration. So I would just avoid watering plants. Um,
I will be sharing the IGTV videos. Pranav has been asking. So yes, this will be on IGTV and you can go through this again.
Root mealy remedies I will try out and then I will let everyone know. Right now, I only do once the infestation, I spot the infestation, I throw away the soil, I clean up the plant, and I let it dry and then pot it again. But if I find a preventive measure, I will let you know. I'm going to try with imidacloprid. Let me give my views on that after I use it.
Somebody is
Mm.
asking you what are crested plants?
Okay, what are crested plants? I can probably, is there anything here? I'll just show you one. Sorry, I didn't bring any here. So, crested plant, I don't know whether, okay. Sorry, because I'm not on my terrace, I am not able to show it to you. But crested plants are generally plants that are showing unnatural growth. It's not growing in its regular form, and it has mutated basically. And a lot of these grow into various beautiful forms, fan shapes, uh, and other interesting forms. And they are pretty expensive as well. Some of these are pretty expensive. The common Opuntia cresteds you can easily find in a lot of nurseries, but most of the crested plants would be quite expensive, and because of its uh, the form of the plant, it is actually heavily susceptible to to rot basically, because it will absorb a lot of moisture, because and air circulation doesn't go really through those crevices in those plants the way the forms are. So it's in monsoon or in area where it is the humidity is really high. These plants don't do really well. That's my view. Unfortunately, I'm not able to show it. I'm just trying to see if there is anything here. Um, okay, I spot something. Let me just quickly show it. Um, so this is a crested euphorbia.
You'll have to raise it up a bit. Uh, yeah. Okay, so you're talking about the grafted cactus.
No, not the
It's
grafted, the
grafted onto
crest.
something?
It's grafted on it because it's not very, the focus is not right. So if you see
Okay.
the top of the plant, if you see the top of the plant, usually these are fingers. There should have been fingers here, but the finger formation is not there. What it will do is it will actually form a plant. All those fingers have actually merged, and it is forming like a fan shape. So the plant should have grown this way, but what has happened? It is growing this way. So this is an unnatural growth habit, and because it is unnatural growth habit, it is also not very easy to cultivate. So it is an unnatural growth, like all variegations. We haven't spoken about
Correct.
variegations, but we all know that variegations are not the natural growth habit. So variegations are
Yes.
unnatural. The
They're
same
more
way the
delicate
monstrous
and
form, yeah,
difficult.
they're
Yeah.
more delicate. The
True.
same holds for crested plants as well. So it is not the normal habit. Ideally, this plant should have grown like fingers, multiple fingers, but all those fingers have joined together, and that's the reason why it's called crested.
So, Roshan,
And
Jake
yeah,
just
yeah,
checked that Instagram has updated it to 4 hours, which we won't
okay.
go for. So we'll plan
I
to
don't think
like
we'll be
end it
able to
in
do.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't
We'll
think
just
we can
end it
do
in
4 hours,
five.
but
No,
yeah.
definitely not. So just in another 5-10 minutes, we'll just try
Yeah,
to end
sure,
it.
sure.
As soon
I'll
as we
just
get the
try to.
questions done, yeah, we'll just.
Yeah, yeah,
I think you have answered most of the questions, right?
yeah. I think so. So I will not be able to answer any general questions on succulents. I'm not very good at it, so I would avoid
We'll have
answering
a
it.
session someday. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would like to join that session because I don't. They don't thrive well with me.
Yeah. And in Mumbai too,
Okay,
it's a challenge.
I think we have answered most of the questions.
Okay.
Because you brought up this thing on grafted plants, right? And you
Yeah, we've not
brought it
spoken
up.
about that.
So yeah, we've not spoken about grafts. So a lot of people say that grafts are not good. Yes, it is. So from a what do you say, a cosmetic standpoint, um, what it does is grafts give you a platform to showcase your plants. So let's assume that this plant, right? It is inside a pot. You can barely see it. Now, what does grafting do? Grafting is basically joining
Let's
two
see.
similar plants together, right? So if I
Yeah.
have a platform to raise it, so I will use a stalk and I can just put the scion on top, and then it looks like, and you can easily
Yeah.
observe it. So there are benefits of doing a graft, and the plant
I never
grows
thought of it that way.
faster. So, so a lot of people have both views that they like to keep their plants pristine. They want to grow it the way it was naturally supposed to grow. And grafting is not natural.
Purists.
Grafting is a
Yeah.
yeah purist. So they will obviously have their own views. But what does grafting do? It's a boon for a lot of growers because a lot of plants don't do well in the conditions that you would want them. Especially we talked about humid areas, right? Where some of your plants may not be able to grow. But if you have a grafted plant, what it helps you is the root stock that you're going to use, the base of the plant that you're going to use. If that can survive your overwatering, your overindulgence, there is a cactus called Perisciopsis that is being used as a very good rootstock because Perisciopsis can survive any amount of overwatering. Like it can survive in moist soil, right? So a lot of
So it's a
growers use
hardy.
Perisciopsis. It's very hardy. So if you have a Perisciopsis rootstock, it will obviously, even in a condition where you are overwatering, or after you your husband is also over watering the plants after you, it doesn't matter because your plant is able to manage that, right? So graft is sometimes good. It also gives boost to the plant. So a lot of people, what they do is they take these juvenile pups out of the plants, the small scions, and then they graft it on a plant. And what it does is it helps the scions to grow faster. So in a year's time, they will be able to probably grow threefold than a regular potted plant would have done, right? So if you look at nurseries, that's what a lot of nurseries do. That they graft and then they degraft it. So they get it to a good size and then they cut it again and then they put it back in the pot. So your plant has already got into a saleable size. So it's for nurseries again.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a good thing for them. But again,
yeah.
purists
See
will say
many
that
angles.
I want a seed grown plant, right? So
That's
I am not a purist, so I don't mind.
okay with graphs. Absolutely okay with graphs.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
I think yeah,
That's nice.
done.
So I
Okay,
think we
last
have
one. This is
covered.
very yeah. This is a very interesting question. So I
Okay.
don't know. You may also want to take this. How do you manage to keep your hands safe when handling cacti?
Yeah, that's a good question actually.
I don't, but I have tried gloves. It doesn't work. At least
Because it thickens your figures. Yeah.
if you use a very
Actually,
thick gloves, you won't be able to hold your plant properly.
yeah.
So, and if you
Becomes
use
clumsy.
yeah, if you use the latex gloves, anyways, your the spines pierce through that. So I haven't
This is
found
going
it
to
any
rip.
useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use a piece of paper, something just to ensure that it doesn't prick me too bad, and
Mm,
I just try to,
mm.
as much as possible, I try to safely handle the plant. That's about it. All right, I
My
think
aunt had
we are.
suggested that,
Uh,
use these pincers to hold them. I
that's
don't
a good
know.
idea. But larger ones, how do you manage?
Yeah, that
How
I
would you
don't
do
know.
the larger
For the
ones, right?
little ones.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll just show you one plant. So if I have to repot this, right,
Oh,
right,
I
these
know.
spines are like talons, the
Yeah.
claws, right?
One
So it's very
barrel
difficult.
cactus stabbed me on
Yeah,
the face when I was trying to click a picture with it. Al's home.
yeah,
It
yeah.
just stabbed me on the face. I was like, no, I'm not going close to these things.
Yeah. So astrophytums are good. So you can go as close
Yeah,
to them as
yeah,
you
they're
want.
cute. Yeah, yeah, they're
Yeah,
so cute. But sometimes they're a little tricky to keep. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know until master
yeah.
everything. That's right, like what you
Sure.
told us. I mean, everything that you told us made so much sense. Thank you so much. I think we should end it right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. We
And
should.
yeah, yeah. So thanks again, and thank you
Welcome.
everyone for joining in. Don't forget to follow Cactus Rosh, and you can contact him and ask him any questions about cacti if you want to. You can DM him, and he's said it, so he'll help you out. So thank you once again, and
It's a
a big bye.
pleasure, and
Roshan, you want to say anything?
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
No,
Bye bye.
I was pretty excited. It was my first time doing an Instagram live, so I was pretty
Yeah,
nervous as well. And
sure. It
I
went
had actually
wonderful.
reached out to a lot of people. If Anne is going to press me with a lot of questions that I may
No,
not be able to answer with. Yeah,
no,
so
no. Don't
yeah,
worry.
it
I'm
was a
not a
good session.
monster.
It was a
Yeah,
good session. It was
yeah. It was
very
wonderful.
educative for me as well. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
for us, oh, definitely. I mean, you really gave some great inputs. Thank you so much. Okay. So we'll end
Thanks,
the
Anne.
session and
Yeah.
I'll just
And
call.
a big thank you
Yeah,
to Jake as well for handling all the
yeah.
technical
He's
inputs.
always behind the scenes.
Yeah. All right then.
Yeah,
I think you need to
yeah,
disconnect it.
yeah. I think I just figured it out. This is the first time, so I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. I think yeah. Okay. Bye then. I'll
Bye
end the
bye.
session. Yeah,
So can I just close it? I don't know.
yeah. I'll end it.